Alright, ladies, so today we're going to be talking about how to make your husband or even your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, appreciate you. And how to deal when they don't appreciate you, which is to say, how to deal with disrespect. Because when we don't feel appreciated, we feel disrespected. And this is all based on the question that I had yesterday. And the question goes, I'm not going to say the name. It says, how to make your husband appreciate you, especially when they're sensitive, when you open up to them and they act cold. How do you react? Okay? So how do you deal with feeling disrespected, and when you backlash and when you express yourself, they get mad at you and they act cold, they pull away and whatnot. How do you deal with that? And that's the issue, because you feel that standing up for yourself, you're gonna lose something. And that's the power that they have over you, and that's the power that you're losing. Alright. So in this one, this is all going to be based on the inner issues, which is I always address, and also we have to use absence, creating pain and sowing confusion in order to straighten him up a bit. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's talk about the core issue why you don't feel appreciated first. Not being respected becomes a part of your reality. You're always being disrespected. So the thing is that the problem is that goes on is that when you don't stand up for yourself, you feel disrespected. You see, when you don't stand up for yourself, somebody disrespects you, you don't stand up for yourself, then you feel disrespected. You see, and the problem is that what tends to happen is that disrespect lingers on. Like when like resentfulness, hatred, it lingers on. So one disrespect piles on another, and then you begin to create an identity of the victim that keeps being disrespected by the evil outside world. And what's happening is that because you're holding on to those emotions, you're feeling those emotions. And when you feel those emotions, what happens? It clouds your perception. You don't see reality. You're not merging with reality. So you're always going to be feeling disrespected everywhere you go. Everything that happens is a disrespect. You're going to interpret it as a disrespect. You're going to be hostile for no reason. So even though you may or may not be feeling disrespected and appreciated, sometimes having that emotion and holding on to to past pain because of not being appreciated as a person will cause you to not be disrespected more, not be appreciated, because you're going to underplay yourself. So let's talk about what have you done that may have caused them to not appreciate you. Because I always talk about accountability. No matter how wrong you are, be accountable in some area, because if you're not accountable, that means you cannot control it and change it. So the first thing is conformity leads to content. You're making it too easy. You make it too easy on him. You reward him too much. You're there for him. He doesn't have to fight for your attention. When you become too easy for a guy, it doesn't matter how much he loves you, he's gonna grow bored. You may say to yourself, why are guys so evil? No, it's how humans are. When you're playing a video game and it becomes too easy, what do? You raise up the difficulty level until it gets too difficult that you master the game and you move on to another one. That's what you have to do. Is that it's kind of similar to a fucking game. It gets too easy, then it was hard, then it gets too easy. You gotta keep making it harder on him, right? Trying hard makes him feel bored. You notice it that he's losing interest. So what happens? You try harder. You notice it. You were taught that trying harder, which is to say, giving him attention, validation, sending him how much you love him, asking him to explain why. You were taught that trying that works. So as a result, because you have no other mode, no other model of thinking, no other way of thinking, you don't have another paradigm, another belief system, you try harder. So you try harder, you push him more, you text him more, you hit him up more. And what's happening, you pull him away. You push him away. And that's because you're seeing that he's acting bored. So what's happening here is not just that you're trying hard, that you're reacting to him. You're interpreting his actions. You see, and so as a result, you become a certain person, someone that he knows will always be there. So as a result, he could treat you like shit because he knows he has nothing to lose. But you can't do the same because you have something to lose. This is all a battle of perception, a battle of the illusion of control. So, and also, the reason why he doesn't appreciate you is that you have no edge. When I talk about the edge, I'm talking about being one-sided. You're too much of the nice girl, the girl that will always be there for him, the girl that will always, do anything for him. You see, and when you just have one side, he's not afraid of you. So you want him to know that there's a bitch inside of you, that when you are triggered, the shit comes out. You see, what's even worse is that you know that there's a bitch inside of you that's not only crazy, but relaxed, but under control. Because I don't want you to be a crazy bitch. I want you to be a controlled one. Okay. So what I'm saying is that you become too easy. You become a doormat. He's not threatened by you. And when you're just one-sided, which is, I'm trying to impress you, I'm trying to impress you, I'm trying to make you happy, I'm trying to make you happy, because you're reacting to him being cold. That reaction to his coldness is the problem. So what I always say is that whenever you feel needy, do the opposite of that emotion. You also have a weak reality. His defensiveness might draw you in, and you lose the battle. You see, your reality is your perception. For example, when you think, okay, this is a reality. Let me see. What's an example of a reality? Let's say that I don't believe that I'm a good dating coach, right? And somebody tells you, is there someone better than you? And because I don't believe that I'm a good dating coach, because my belief is so small, you could actually convince me that somebody's better than me. But I have a strong grip on my reality, a strong grip of what I can do. It doesn't matter how much you tell me, it doesn't matter how much evidence you show me. You cannot convince me otherwise that somebody's better than me. So as a result, my reality is stronger than your belief. In other words, my belief over how things should be and how things are is more stable than your belief of how things should be. And so the stronger reality wins. So as a result, when you have a weak reality, a weak perception of yourself, a very vague image of yourself as a powerful person, somebody else with a stronger reality who thinks is stronger than you will overtake you, and you lose into them. So whenever they feel angry, you also feel angry. Whenever they start arguing, you also argue with them. And so you get drawn into that reality. If there's someone who are used to having arguments, you're going to be drawn into that. If you're someone, the thing is that when you have a weak reality, you become whatever they are. And you gain the habits that they gain. All right. So now, when you open up, so what do you do when you open up and he gets mad? Now, the thing is that a lot of people, they're afraid to express themselves because the reaction they get is negative. You see, so even though they feel disrespected, they don't want to open up because they feel like they have something to lose. So as a result, it becomes a part of your personality not opening up, becoming inhibited because of fear of the reaction. There's something more at stake than the mere outcome. There's something deeper than that. There is a sense of identity from losing, a sense of identity from not achieving what you want. You see? So it's not just you just want to achieve something, or you're actually looking for something deeper. You're actually just looking for this spiritual fulfillment in physical form, and that's not gonna happen, right? So what do? So when somebody gets defensive, you gotta get undefensive. When you notice that he starts arguing, realize he's arguing. Take a deep breath and relax and do the opposite. Like, be undefensive when he's defensive. Don't even try to defend your point. Listen to him. Because it doesn't matter when someone's defensive, it doesn't matter what you tell him. You cannot argue with someone who's defensive. Like, it's one thing talking to someone, discussing with someone who's open-minded and literally open to your points, but it's another thing talking to someone who's convinced about what they're telling you and that they're trying to convince you. That's a battle you cannot win. So what's the best thing you can do? Be on defensive. Lead by example. But if you have a weak reality, you're going to feel threatened. So as a result, you're going to try to convince him that what he's thinking is wrong. But when you have a certainty, when you believe in yourself, you don't care what he believes. The only thing that matters is what you believe, because that's what matters in your life. Go in it from the place of I, not you. When you're talking to your guy and he's opening up and he gets mad at you, that may be because you're saying you're making that may be because you're personally attacking him. What you gotta do is say, when you say this to me, I feel this way. I feel like this. I feel like this. It's making me feel this way. Rather than saying it's because of this. Blah blah blah. Like, rather than attacking him, focus in on saying, I don't know why, but when you say this to me, I feel this way. You see what I'm saying? Rather than saying your behavior is wrong, you just say your behavior is causing me to feel this way. I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's just making me feel this way. You see, and again, if someone really loves you, though, when you talk to them undefensively, like when you don't feel no defensiveness and you talk with compassion, you're gonna get through them. But you have to remain on defensive, because you're gonna feel the draw to want to be drawn into that argument. It feels like a gravitational pull. Like, it really feels like you want to do that, but you gotta really realize what's really going on. You see, realize that the enemy is the emotion. Ooh, that was a perfect transition. Realize that the enemy is the emotion, not the facts or the things surrounding the emotion. It's the emotion itself the problem. So what do you got to do then? You can't reason with the emotion. You have to let him be relaxed. You cannot argue with him when he is in the mode of argument. Catch him when he's sleeping. Catch him when he least expected. Get him relaxed. All right. Now, I'm not talking about like give them like like a little blowjob and then start talking about your argument. By the way, remember when I was talking? No. Okay, let's not even talk about that. Okay. Get him to relax. When he gets mad, have an intentional call to let him quiet. For example, when you're arguing, how dare you? How dare you not clean the dishes? 1 second, baby. I have a phone call. 1 second. 1 second. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Oh, for real? Yeah. What's gonna happen? He's already like in the midst of like arguing. He's like it's like stopping midway of sex. It's like, oh shit, what? Like, oh, whoa, what the fuck? No. Like, it shows you how invested you were. So, it's kind of like a friend it's kind of like when you're texting with a guy, right? And everything's going good, you're sexting each other, and suddenly he stops texting you. Or suddenly your phone dies, and you can't communicate with him. That absence, the dead phone, and that absence of that stimulus makes you like, oh, damn, I want this. You see? And it shows you how really invested you were. So, also, when you get a call in the midst of an argument, a fake call, and you pick up, he's midway through that state, through that pattern of anger, right? But he'll calm down, like he'll calm down, right? So we're like, okay, let's talk, okay? But now you're talking to him more relaxed. That's what I'm saying. You're breaking that pattern. That's all you do by acting like you got an intentional phone call, right? Because it's better to talk to someone when they're relaxed. So now let's talk about the self. What's causing? Now that we talked about things to do, let's talk about the self. What's causing the lack of appreciation from the guy? All right, knowing your boundaries, that's the first step. Boundaries are what you will or will not accept for other people. Don't accept too much and don't accept too little. Tell them what you will accept and what you will not accept, and stick to it. He'll respect you when you stick to your boundaries from a pragmatic perspective, which is, I don't care who I'm with. If this happens, I am done. Or if this kind of like the law, like you don't govern it. It's saying, look, this is what I believe in. If this happens, we're done, right? And then you actually follow through on your consequences. The guy's gonna respect you. But the problem is that a lot of the times we make empty threats. Nothing's worse than someone who talks out of their fucking mouths and don't walk the walk. I mean, don't talk the talk and don't walk the walk. You lose respect for people like that. People who don't respect themselves, you don't respect them back. When you push them around, you could tell how much they respect themselves depending on how they react to you pushing them. You see, so you have to hold your boundaries. Say, look, if you do this, this is what happens. If you don't appreciate, like you gotta at least tell me what like literally, like find what the hell the problem is with the guy. Have a boundary and have a predisposed consequences for those actions and stick to it. Don't make it an emotional reaction. Make it a logical, pragmatic, I gave you your chance kind of reaction. You see, the other one is self boundaries. Not only so knowing the boundaries, the external boundaries, then the self boundaries. Knowing what you expect from other people. No, expecting what you expect from yourself. Are you gonna accept that? Accept disrespect? Are you gonna accept not being appreciated? You gotta have a certain standard. Sometimes we rationalize ourselves being disrespected because we have something to lose. Sometimes that's just rationalizing yourself out of the fear of confronting your fears. You see, having your values, what you like, what you don't like, what you accept, what you don't accept. Having this predetermined and sticking to it is key. In life specifically, like again, like for example, like me, the place where I want to live, I want to live next to the YMCA in downtown Brooklyn. I cannot live 2 or 3 blocks further from the YMCA, or else I won't go work out. That's my priority. So it doesn't matter how good the room may look. If it's not close to the YMCA with a 2-block radius, I am not moving there. Not moving there. It doesn't matter what. That's my strict criteria. So as a result, it doesn't matter how beautiful it is. I am not gonna negotiate that. You see, and so that's my key, my main thing. If I live close to the gym, I'll be in shape and be able to play basketball. I'll be happier. You see, and so if I compromise that, then what tends to happen is that when I move further, I'm not gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna complain. But I would have avoided that if I would have just stuck to my values. So the same thing is that have a behavior that you accept and that you won't accept from people, and stick to it. And it doesn't matter if it seems like you're losing out on your current relationship. That momentary loss is gonna lead to infinite gains, and not just what you gained, but also what you prevented. A lot of people don't count the preventions as gains. All right. Also, so let's talk about the frame that you go about things, the perspective, how you see them. For example, your frame is this. Frame is when you're being interviewed for a job that you like. No, for a job that you need, right? That's a frame, right? But then let's talk about being interviewed for a job that you are being offered and that you don't need, but that you're considering it because they want you there. those are two completely different frames, right? I mean, wouldn't the way you behave change? Wouldn't their questions have lesser meaning depending on how much you need the job? It does. Like, the more you need the job, the more nervous you're gonna be. The less you need a job, the less nervous you're gonna be. So your frame is your perspective. Or like, who's walking on eggshells in a relationship? Who's the one that is afraid to disappoint the other person? Who's the one that's seeking validation? Who's emotionally depending on who most? Who's affecting the person most? Who's affecting you negatively most? And who is it bouncing out of? Like, notice who's reacting more. If you're the one who's emotionally reacting, if you're the one who emotionally needs a person more, then you gotta change your frame. Changing your frame will easily be done by changing your perspective from running away from pain to running towards the pain and going inside yourself. You see, because what's really going on here, again, your frame comes from the perspective of how you feel and where you're looking for happiness. So if you're looking for happiness in his validation and you need him because he doesn't validate you, and because he doesn't validate you, that means that he has a lot, that means that he has some value. Simply because he didn't want you, he has more value. When you come about it from that perspective, you're gonna accept abuse. You're gonna accept a lot of shit because you need him more than he needs you. And this is all an illusion because we have everything that we need. This is all mind-made and based on on how you were raised as a child. So notice the frame. Are you the one that's needing his validation? Seeing how things were, like being afraid to say something, being afraid to like lose him, how much you fear losing him. When you have that, when you notice that you fear losing him, when you notice that you need him for almost everything, that's a bad place to be in. And that frame, he's gonna control you. And you're gonna accept a lot of shit. But when he knows that you don't need him, when he knows that you don't seek validation, when he knows that you're happy enough to say, you know what, yo, fuck you. If you fuck up, I'm leaving. You know, when he knows that, he's the one that's going to be looking for you. He's the one that's going to be working for you. All right. So it's essentially becoming your own source of positive emotions, tapping into the energy inside of you and not around you as the source of your mood, feeling no spikes or loss of self-esteem from any guy's responses. You see, you might gain or lose attraction, but this does not affect your sense of who you are. You see, your sense of self is not based on how much somebody likes you. Your sense of self is based on the now. You see, so it's all about validating yourself, which is doing the things that you love, doing something because you want to do. But the problem is that you cannot do what you love because your perception is being squinted through the emotion of need. When you have the emotion of need, your likes and dislikes are not really yours. When you need somebody's validation, you're gonna adapt what they like because you want them to like you. So what you have to do then is become more present. Look, I always come back to it, but that's the thing. Because when you become more present, you let go of the emotions from the past, right? Which is the pressure that people put on you. For example, the emotions from the past is like this, right? You know that you got to get married by age 25 and you're 24, right? And you feel that pressure because they show you, Melissa, you got to get married, right? That was like 2 years ago, right? And you feel that pressure, right? Oh, fuck, I feel that pressure, right? Now you're going about life with that pressure from the past. You're holding on to it, right? And that pressure causes you to hear those thoughts. You gotta get married, right? Now suddenly what you want to get married, right? But in reality, that's not really your passion. That's not what you really want. That's really just your past living in the future. So what do you gotta do to find what you really like? You gotta look through those emotions. So observe the emotion, observe it. Then you start noticing it's just a physical sensation. Observe the physical sensation. Look for the I in that physical sensation. Who is the one that needs to get married? Who is it? Can you find yourself in that physical sensation? Then you notice that the emotion that you were feeling was just a physical sensations. You notice the thoughts of your feelings were just neurological fucking chemicals that are going into your mind. And then you notice that there's no one inside. That you're here now. There's no such thing as past. Why you let it affect your present? Now suddenly you let go of the past. Now, because you're in the present moment, notice what you want to do now. From present moment awareness. And whatever arises from that does not come from the contaminated soil of the past. It comes from the present moment. It comes from what you really want. But if you're seeking validation, nothing that you will ever do comes from yourself. So as a result, you never live for yourself. You never do things for yourself. You never really are happy. You never really fulfilled because you're always seeking validation from somebody else, from the guy. And you're going to take a lot of disrespect because you know that you cannot make yourself feel happy. You need to make them. They can only make you happy because they have the supply and you have the demand. So you're able to look through a lot of bullshit. It's kind of like when industries monopolize. When an industry is monopolized because the industry knows that they could get away with all this shit because nobody else who has to offer what they have, they'll be able to provide substandard products to their customers simply because there's nobody else offering it. And people are gonna have to take that shit because there's nobody else offering it. But suddenly somebody else comes with better offering, better service, same quality, better service. Now suddenly now you got options. Now you're able to not take their shit. See, that's what I'm talking about. This new service is yourself. You're gonna become your own ecosystem of positive emotions. And the only way for you to do that, you have to look through the fucking pain. That's what you're avoiding. There's something that I also avoid too, in just certain areas. But when it comes to people, it's gonna be uncomfortable standing up for yourself, and that's the pain that people don't want to put up with. It's gonna be uncomfortable feeling alone and cold, and like you're about to lose your whole world. But you have to do it because you're losing yourself in the process. The world that you believe you're losing is not really motherfucking there. The world that you're losing, you're really lost. Because you're seeking validation from someone who doesn't even appreciate you. Only appreciates you based on circumstance, and that's not real love. I don't want to break some marriages up right now. Let me just stop talking. Another one is self-amusement, on how to become your own source of positive emotion. Self-amusement, doing something because it amuses you. How can I have fun right now? How can I do this and have fun? Self-amusement is kind of like being a child. You see? Now, a way for you to get him to respect you, and again, it's through using. I'm gonna talk about some ways to make him respect you through using space, creating space. Literally, like start backing away from him. Like literally start withdrawing. I want you to make him feel like you're withdrawing. I want him because when he feels a withdrawal, when he knows that he has you, and you create space to either saying, you know what, I'm not talking to you anymore until you start respecting me, or I'm going to my parents until you start respecting me, or just not talking. Like, literally, you gotta fucking push him away. That's the point. Push him away. Because the opposite of what you do is when he disrespects you, what happens? You push him towards you. Please, I'm sorry. Push your motherfucker away. All right? But mind you, you got to be aware some guys are motherfucking crazy. Sorry for cursing, but some guys are crazy. All right? So know your clientele. All right? Know if he's a violent person, you got to be smart with it. All right? Knowing, in addition to that, you want him to know what makes you happy and what makes you mad. For example, know the best leaders. Find the best leaders, right? And ask the surrogate, what makes your leader angry and what makes him mad? They're gonna know. Ask the worst leaders and ask the surrogates, how do you know, what do you think what makes your leader happy and mad? They're not gonna know. Why? Because when a leader, because they lead by example. They've seen the consequences of fucking with him. They've seen what he does when you behave, and they've seen what he does when you misbehave. And he's relentless with it. So the same thing, you gotta give him show the guy what the fuck you're able to do. You gotta show him what kind of pleasure you're able to provide when he behaves, and also you gotta show him what kind of pain you're able to provide when he misbehaves. And that pain comes in the form of having clear set standards that if he does certain things, you're done with him. And this is not something you could bluff. This is something that actually has to come from yourself. You have to really say, you know what, if you do this, you're done. And have little consequences depending on the transgression, and hold yourself to that standard. Because if you don't hold yourself to that standard now, you're not going to hold yourself tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. Like saying that I'm gonna do it in the next relationship is because you're trying to avoid the pain of having to face it now, and that's the truth, man. That could apply to a lot of things. So again, like just go to your mom's for a few days when you're both not angry, right? So this is how you do it, right? So just go to your mom's for a few days, know when he's not angry, and go to your mom's for a few days, because when you're doing when he's not angry, he is like, oh, what? Like he's not gonna react. The self of him being the respected self is not gonna react. His normal self is gonna react. So don't do it. I'm leaving when he's angry. No, just do it when he's relaxed. When you guys are having a good time, right? Because that's when it's actually gonna get him, because he's not defensive. You gotta get him when he doesn't expect it. You see, and don't do it during an argument, like I said, so that he doesn't see through the eyes of anger and remain that way. All right, and just tell him that you're just not happy. Like, I'm not happy. What do you mean? I'm just not happy. I'm not happy. I gotta think about this. I gotta go with my parents. And sorry, the beauty about going to your parents is that he can't say that you cheated. Usually you're going with your parents, you know. Another one is make him the transgressor. All right. Nah. Actually, well, make him the transgressor. How could this be? Okay. No. So okay. So another one is what you think of other people is a reflection of yourself. All right. If you have a concept of yourself as someone who is not appreciated, you will focus on that and not on the things that are good of being appreciated. You see, because you're just focusing on the part that you believe who you are. Only focus on the positive. Your mind does not process the negative things. People remember. Okay. See, I'm losing track. That was not it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. How you're able to gain the control, how to be respected. It's all about your standards and what you're able to take from people. Like that's where it all comes down. It does have something to do with the guy, and there's some way to do it, but it all comes down to your personal standards. What you have to lose. Are you putting all your eggshells in one guy, or are you personally independent? And he realizes you're independent, and through this, you're going. I mean, this is the thing is that. Through this, a lot of people will have to break up with their guys because some guys just won't change. You see, and that's the thing you got to accept, that sometimes some guys cannot be repaired. Some guys cannot be, and that's where you gotta be smart with the guys you do shit with, man. Like I talk about this with guys, but not as often. You gotta be careful with the shit you do with some guys, man, because when you're stuck, you're stuck. Like it's not easy, yo. Like, and you gotta look for those red flags and don't let the emotions fool you. Love is the most deceptive emotion, the most deceptive. Hate and love and hate, the most receptive emotions, the most extreme emotions. So you gotta be careful with it, man. Anyways, it's Alex from mindfulattraction.org. If you guys need one-on-one coaching, you could just let me know. Go to mindfulattraction.org/coach in a pocket, coach in a pocket, right? And have a good day. Bye bye.